Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Game 2 of Leta vs. Flash in the round of 8 of the ABC Mart MSL. And these players have a little bit of a history that we didn't really get a chance to talk about in the past. They played a lot of games against each other, but in Star Leagues, Leta's been losing like a lot. But before we get underway, it looks like we're going to have Flash as the white Terran. So that leaves Leta's going to be the red Terran in the bottom left, and Flash is going to be the yellow Terran in the bottom right. So they met in the WCG Korea qualifiers, and Flash 2-0'd him, and then they also met in the round of 16 of the OSL a couple of seasons ago, and Flash 2-0'd him. But that was the round of 16 of the Korean era OSL last August. That's like as far as Leta has ever gotten in a Star League. So it looks like Flash really liking this send out an early SCV and build a barracks in the middle of the map already. I'll let Deja Vu tell you about why this is different this time.
Well, it's different this time because, well, in the middle of the map there's not as much to build, so you don't have like that spot in the middle where you can just kind of expand out. So he's just going to build a barracks in the most probable spot, which is going to be here, which means he can hit either of the top spots, top right or top left. And if you remember the games between Mind and, who was it against? Mind and Mind and someone. Okay. Mind in the round of 16. He was playing TVT against someone, and they had a bunch of games where they were proxy raxing each other, where they're kind of doing the same thing, trying to play the odds that they would get into the right spot. And Flash is actually, unfortunately, playing the odds and getting kind of unlucky because of it. So because Leta's spawning in the bottom left, that proxy rax is actually not proxy at all and not going to help him at all, and may actually end up being a detriment if Leta sends his Marine straight to Flash's base by block or whatever else. He could end up being in big time trouble. And it's also different because Leta's not going 14cc, and that gerbil apparently was important from before, because I'm guarantee you that's the same gerbil or hamster that was on that girl's arm is now on that little rolly wheel, and I have no idea what the story is behind it, but every time it shows up I'm just like, ooh, that's a pretty little hamster.
Yeah, it's adorable, although I'm pretty sure its species is a mole trap. I think we should just insist that that's a real animal. Yeah, so this is very unlucky by Flash, to say the least. But it was also, last game he just went for the standard timing on the racks. He just decided to put it in the middle, but it was still, he built a supply depot first and it was a 12 racks. But he sent that SCV out really, really early to build that, so it's a little bit, or actually significantly cheesier this time. And you can see on his mini-map that little sad shape that he went all the way up to the top left, and then before discovering that his opponent was at the bottom left. So that's just not very fortunate. So here, although Flash still getting some Marines in early, he's got 2 Marines and 2 SCVs, so I guess he's going to try to build a bunker. And Leta built his first barracks kind of forward too, which was really fortunate for Flash because it gave him at least an opportunity when normally it wouldn't have worked out at all, and actually killing a Marine popping out. So Flash is making the best out of a bad situation, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually turning out quite well for him right now, and Leta actually being forced back because his factory is not yet completed. Flash can pick off that SCV producing the factory. Actually, he did not. If he could have, that could have been really, really bad for Leta. But it looks like Flash has locked down this barracks, and he's working on building a bunker at the top of the ramp. And now here comes an SCV drill, actually doing a decent job at picking off one of the SCV, or one of the Marines of Flash, and now here comes the Vulture, and this is going to be important for Leta to use this Vulture as well as he can and try and either sneak it by the bunker, which is going to be tough because I think that bunker has 3 Marines in it, or use it to take down the bunker. And we also see Flash with a hidden starport. That is not a spot that Leta is it's just not a spot that Leta's going to scout. It's just not. That at that point, that's not Star Sense if he scouts it. That is like straight up, I don't even know, map hacking, inner hacks that he's got if he finds that starport. That is just not a spot that he should ever even think about looking in this position right now. And those rates could really, really catch Leta off guard. We haven't seen an armory or anything like that going down yet, so this could be really, really bad for Leta, and we could be seeing another win for Flash, another quick win. That would be pretty darn crazy again with this early forward racks doing doing some pretty good work for him. Or am I getting this completely wrong? Is that Lita's starport?
That is Leta's starport. I was gonna.
Oh my god.
No, it's okay. So Leta actually is the one who's proxied the starport. I just want to mention a really interesting thing that was going on. Flash just had one Marine sitting outside of Leta's barracks, and when Leta's Marine came out, Flash's Marine got the first hit, so he was killing the Marine and leaving 4 life left on his Marine, and then he would bring in a fresh Marine and send the 4 HP Marine to the front. So he actually killed a lot of Marines and ended up with a lot of 4 HP Marines of his own. I just wanted to quickly mention that. This Wraith did already a pretty good job of scouting, or not scouting, of delaying that natural expansion of Flash. He killed 2 SCVs, I believe, already, and might have gotten a third, but 2 Marines are able to let that command center go up, and that is not such an unusual position for Leta to proxy a starport against Flash, actually, because it's the closest position you can actually place a building, a very nice place for a proxy, but Flash is going to know exactly where that is from the angle and the speed at which those Wraiths got there. And he's actually killed all 3 of the Marines, and he's going to be able to delay that natural expansion even more. So Flash is still repairing his bunker. He just, this isn't like cost effective, he just is delaying the command center from going up just a little bit. As long as he keeps that bunker up, Leta can't move down the ramp, and also bought himself enough time to put some mines where that command center will go. So very nice by Flash in delaying Leta's command center. Actually nice by both players delaying each other's expansion.
Yeah, this almost looks like PVT, where you just sit there with those dragoons trying to pepper the bunker. Only now it's going to be tanks, which obviously pack a heftier punch. And Flash finally able to get that command center down. That is an important difference, that he's going to get his natural expansion up. But these rates are just completely locking this down. So even though he has that up, at least he'll be able to be producing SCVs and things, but he just can't really use it yet. On the other hand, we have Leta building his command center inside of his base, finally able to take down that bunker. And we'll see how much longer it is before he can start mining, but it shouldn't be too significant. And he's already got a little bit of a lead here on the aerial route. If it ends up being a big aerial battle, we've already got a little bit of a lead for Leta with his rates already out and playing some games with that mine, able to pick it off before it goes off, I believe. So he's okay. And he actually did a very good job of keeping all of his rates alive. You saw a lot of them took a lot of damage from some different Marines and things like that before the Goliaths came out, but he did manage to keep them all alive. And Flash finally getting that armory and the Goliaths going, so he's going to be able to lock this down pretty quickly. And here comes the Goliath looking to pick off a Wraith, and is it going to get one? It does get one, so just as Leta, I'm complimenting Leta on keeping his Wraiths alive, he loses one to a Goliath just because I said it. I'm sorry, Leta, I made you lose that Wraith. That is all my fault.
Oh, I love influencing the game, even though it was played almost a week ago at this point. Now yeah, a full week ago. I'm sorry that these are up so late, guys, by the way. Thank you. The last time I was apologizing for things being up late, I got so many nice comments about people are like, we're glad you're doing it at all. It's so rare that there's Brood War commentary these days, and don't worry about it. We know people can be busy. We love you. And I want to say I love you too. All of these people who have been so supportive to me. You guys are awesome, and I'm sure Deja Vu feels the exact same way. So anyway, this is more of the play we expect from Leta, with the proxy starport opening. For him, this is basically standard, going for starports that early, but it's not just trying to win just with cloaked wraiths or anything. Because he's also got a very powerful tank force. He's got a lot of tanks out, and he's just moving across the map and pushing that 5-2 advantage, winning that easily. Flash's hands are flying, but he's looking a little worried. This push actually might deal a lot of damage to Flash. I don't even know if Siege Mode's up. We haven't even seen it from Leta, but it's probably up or just about to finish, and he actually might be able to get into the natural expansion to do some damage if he sieges up.
What is he waiting for?
Yeah, he needs to siege up towards the top of the natural expansion, and he might actually be able to he might be able to shell the SCVs to the point where Flash's tank can't protect, and at that point Flash will have to attack into Leta, and that's just the worst position you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I don't think he has Siege Mode completed yet, but he has
oh my God,
so many more military units! He's waiting so Leta, I don't think he has it done. I think he's researching it right now, but he just took so long. There was a gap there where I really think he could have just walked in the natural expansion, picked off the one tank that was remaining, and done a ridiculous amount of damage, basically forced Flash to siege up on top of his ramp and defend from inside, which would have been awful. And instead, it looks like Flash is basically going to get away with this. This is a shocker to me. Leta really letting Flash off the hook. I think there was a huge opportunity there, lost for Leta to do a ton of damage, and still those siege tanks not sieging up. The only explanation for this is that siege mode is not complete. There's no reason for Leta's tanks not to be sieged up yet. So still waiting on that to finish before he can really establish this contain. And if he doesn't get it soon enough, Flash is just going to completely break it, and he's not even going to get an opportunity to set it up. I think he needs it. There we go. It is complete. So he is at least going to be able to set up this wall right outside of Flash's base, which is going to give him map control. If he wanted to, he could try sneaking a base in somewhere else on the different part of the map. Instead, he's going to go for a drop. We've got vultures now inside of the main. 3 vultures dropping inside of the main. Going to start picking off SCVs. Picks off 1, picks off a second, it looked like, at that academy. A 3rd going down. And here we go. Mines being placed to stop any sort of tanks coming back here from getting involved. But Flash picks off most of the mines. And the vulture for Leta going behind the mineral lines, looking to get another kill. I believe he got a total of maybe 5 or 6 SCVs where those 3 vultures. So another solid harassment there from Leta. And he's done this before in the last game. He had some pretty solid early game vulture harassment. Later on, it started to teeter off, and he wasn't able to do as much damage. But once again, early on, we've got some good vulture harassment. If he can keep it up, that will definitely be a telling point for him. And Flash sneaking some vultures out here into the middle of the map, out underneath Leta's nose, and we'll see if that ends up doing some counter damage, because if so, that is a lot of vultures that can take down a lot of SCVs very quickly.
Yeah, that's definitely a big threat, but there are 2 tanks right outside the natural for Flash, so I don't think there's any possibility, or I'm sorry, for Leta, so I don't think there's any possibility that Flash is going to get in there. Mining up this 6 o'clock base, I don't think it's very likely that 6 o'clock base is going to get taken. It's very vulnerable, like with the positions like they are. That's just, I don't think either player is going to be able to secure that really. And oh my god, Flash actually pushing forward and doing a lot of damage. Somehow he came up with 1,000,000,000,000 tanks. Leta not reinforcing that light contain at all, and Flash just completely breaking it. Leta a little bit slow. Leta should have unsieged and just left, run away, but he didn't. He lost all of those tanks, which is really bad. And now Flash, Leta used to have a really nice advantage in terms of army value, army size, and now Flash totally made that up. And Leta's got a bigger air force, some more wraiths, but the tank counts are probably about even, if not favoring Flash at this point. So pretty big blunder by Leta.
Yeah, letting that contain go down is always a painful moment, but it looks like Leta's going to try keeping the lead by continuing his economic harassment, and also going to try and take a 3rd base himself at the 9 o'clock. If he can take that, if he can continue his vulture harassment, I think he's going to accept that, losing that contain. We do have a couple vultures for Flash sneaking into the main, and they're going to do some damage here at the SCV line, and this dropship getting picked up by a turret, but not going to be enough. And could this be a tank involved here, not just straight vultures? No, it is going to be 4 vultures in here in the back, and Flash is actually going to retreat those SCVs, because by the time he gets reinforcements, that was going to be too many dead workers, and he's still losing a bunch of workers here. It looks like he's again going to lose about 8, 9, a bunch. Definitely more than enough to make up. Yeah, certainly more than enough to make up the cost of the vultures, that's for sure. So again, some great harassment by Leta, and also clearing out the 9 o'clock expansion with his vulture, so now he can take that base as well. So things looking pretty good overall, I'd say, for Leta. He's lost a contain, sure, but some fantastic vulture drop harassment, and he still has this forward line in the middle of the map on this. This is Mancha, by the way. I don't think we actually mentioned it, but this is Mancha. So you have all these ridges in the middle of the map, and he does have this one outside of his base that is very, very solid, and he just needs to watch out for these troops that Flash is establishing on the opposite side, and beware of possibly getting pincered.
Yeah, I have to say that was unbelievably sloppy by Flash that he lost so many SCVs there. Like, pulling your SCVs is not that hard, especially for a pro gamer. Like, you've got your main and natural map to F keys, so just control click, F3 click, F2, control click, F3 click, F2, and you can and pro gamers do all those actions in like less than a second, and that evacuates all of your SCVs to your natural expansion. And Flash has done that a million times in his life, and I don't know why he would have messed it up this time. If it was anyone else, you would attribute it to pressure, but Flash doesn't feel pressure. He's a machine. I don't know why he messed up that SCV pull so badly, but he lost a ton of SCVs as a result. That's just terrible, terrible play that we never see from Flash. What's going on?
Could we be seeing Leta maybe get a win here? I mean, he is building up that Wraith Force, and that is going to be a danger for Flash as we move forward, because we haven't seen Flash even really start to devote anything to the Air Force. And as we talked about in the last game, the meta game for TVT has really changed. No more dropship, well, at least not in the mid game. You know, when you see those huge dropship forces of 6-7 dropships dropping basically like 50 psi worth of units around the map, it's not really going that way anymore. Now we can see lots of starports, lots of Wraiths and Valkyries and battle cruisers, and just skip that entire section of the game. And it doesn't look like Flash is really on that right now. He is getting his first starport now, but he's going to be behind a lot of Wraiths and cloaking by the time that gets involved. So he's going to have to depend on his ground units and his Goliath play, which is very, very good. Flash's Goliaths are they're fantastic. Flash's Goliaths are the best around, and he's going to have to depend on that to defend his air for a while here. And it looks like those two Siege Tanks actually did eat a mine, so they are kind of low on health right now, and that's another worry for Flash as well. That is not as strong block off as it looks. He is taking that top right quadrant, though. He's going to try and establish that, and I think Leta's trying to establish the top left, so this is going to look like one of those old school TVTs where you have a ton of bases going to both players, but I still think that Leta's still in a very, very good position just because he's ahead on the Wraith count right now and should have the aerial upgrades and the aerial advantage in the mid game.
Yeah, and if you just take a look at La Mancha, there are like little high ground islands, or they're like little strips of high ground all throughout the middle, and that'll lend itself a lot to some like very nice tank lines, and we might just see like huge tank lines across the entire map if this map does get split, which is a possibility. But oh my god, Leta getting into Flash's tanks and mining the crap out of them. He's going to take out every single tank with those vultures. That was beautiful, beautiful play by Leta, just crushing that force of Flash. So Flash might not even be able to split the map after losing that many units. He might be in danger of not having the map control to protect the units he has, or protect the expansions he has going up at the top right. It looks like he's got a couple of tanks there, so maybe like just like 3 vultures running around the map won't be able to get in, but Leta could easily force his way into the top right and either deny expansions or take out SCV's mining, and he does know about that. He's coming in with a bunch of cloaked Wraiths, and this is looking so bad for Flash in this game. He's just making a lot of mistakes very uncharacteristically. What's going on?
I honestly can say that I have never seen Flash lose this many units to mines. I've never seen it. He's usually so good at dealing with mines, and it's something that usually shocks me how good he is. And this game, I'm kind of shocked at how it's working. I mean, it's not a shocker that it's working because they are good situations to place mines. I'm just surprised that Flash is allowing that to happen. It's usually just one of those great defenses that he's able to pull off because he's Flash. And it looks like actually Leta's going to lose a bunch of Wraiths here, going through a bunch of turrets and Goliath, so that's going to hurt him a little bit. His aerial force just definitely took a bop in the head right there. Lost a few Wraiths. I think he's still producing them. Yes, he is, and he's producing a second and the third starport as well as 7 or so factories, so he's still going to have a lot of armories, still producing a lot. 2 armories going, probably going to start those air upgrades as well. He's probably just going to get his +2 weapons on his ground. Yeah, he does have +2, and then I imagine that the rest is going to be for air, and he is going to take it to Flash in the air game. And where is Flash going to go from here? It looks like he's going to go Goliaths and maybe Valkyrie, and maybe that's the route he goes. We haven't seen any Wraiths from him, so I'm really curious just to see how Flash deals with the new school Terran without going new school himself. He is going to sneak a bunch of vultures here into the top left, and it doesn't look like there's anything here to defend for Leta. Leta tried to send a bunch of vultures there to the top left, but I think they might have been A-moved and maybe got locked in there at the 9 o'clock position, which would be awful if that's really what happened, and I suspect that it is. And he's losing SCVs one by one here at the top left, finally pulling them back and bringing his own vultures to bear. So it looks like Leta's kind of returned the favor to Flash, losing a bunch of SCVs because he's not able to micro them properly and get them out of that base. So kind of returning the favor a little bit, losing a bunch of them there. And yeah, nice harassment there by Flash.
Yeah, actually, the commentators didn't really, or the observer didn't really do a good job of showing it, but that was a double harassment for Flash. He sent in 4 vultures to the 9 o'clock and to the top left, and Leta A-moved some vultures to stop it, but they were still in the process of cleaning up the vultures that were at the 9 o'clock before they could get to the top left. So he only lost like 2 SCVs, or probably, we didn't even get a shot of it. He only lost a couple of SCVs at the 9 o'clock, but lost so many at the top left. Very nice double harassment going on for Flash. And oh, he's trying to mine up Leta's tanks, but no, it does not work that time. Very nice tank micro by Leta, running and shooting. And I think Leta's poised to take the 12 o'clock base. And if this does become a half map versus half map, Leta's going to end up with the 12 o'clock, and Flash is going to end up with the 6 o'clock. But I'm a lot more worried about Flash. Oh, hold that thought. Flash coming in, cleaning up a couple of Leta's tanks, barely taking any damage of himself. This game keeps swinging back and forth. Oh, and to anyone who saw those 3 starports going up and being like, oh, maybe it's battle cruisers, there's no room for control towers on them, so maybe not immediately. But a big engagement in the middle of the map. Flash has got the high ground advantage, and he's doing a lot of damage. He was there first and was sieged first, but now getting picked apart by the Wraith. But here come the Goliaths to rescue with their Terran booster range upgrade, and dealing a lot of damage. Leta needs to be a little bit more careful with his Wraith in this game, but losing all of his tanks. Very nice engagement by Flash, and I think he just pushed forward the line, and now he's got a little bit more than half of the map in terms of map control, and upgrades 2-1 for Flash, 2-0 for Leta. I forgot his name for a sec.
And that's alright. Well, Flash is at an interesting position right now as how does he push from this spot? If he pushes past that other ridge from the south where Leta's holding to try and actually take down a base, he's going to have to really worry about getting flanked. So it's one of those positions where Flash is winning that battle, but he needs to get even more there. He needs to get another victory before he can really start taking down these bases. Outside of that 12 o'clock, maybe for some vulture harassment using that bridge, which is obviously going to be tough to run across with all those tanks there. He can't really get to the top left with his main force. He just can't cross that ridge line. It's just such a strong reinforcement route for Leta that if he does, he really is at a risk of losing his entire force to reinforcements from Leta. So we're kind of at, once again, this little stalemate here where it's basically split 50-50, maybe slightly tilted towards Flash. I'm talking like 53%, you know, something basically insignificant, and it really is basically a split map situation right here. Although Leta has left that southern ridge basically empty right now. He is sneaking a couple of vultures into the top right to do some damage, but Flash might be taking advantage by going across that southern ridge. We see that right now, and some Wraiths coming in to try and hold this off, and they are starting to pick at tanks. Where are the Goliaths to come in for Flash? And these vultures in the top right not being noticed at all by Flash, so they are going down left and right, picking off a ton of SCVs, finally noticing it, finally moving those SCVs to take down that vulture and sending a vulture of his own. So finally going to clean that up, but another nice harassment done by Leta, and now Leta's in a precarious position on the ground battle, just looking at he's lost the southern ridge, and he's basically only in control of one of the 4 ridges. Flash has the other 3, so Leta's in a very, very difficult position right here. He's going to need a very, very nice play to clean up one of the ridges and establish some sense of map control back in this game. Somehow, despite having the aerial advantage, he has given up map control, and that is definitely a bad spot right now for Leta.
Yeah, I'm like looking at this game, and it looks like chess, really. Leta pushing forward towards the bottom left, and actually towards the main area of bases for Flash, and like Flash was pushing up at the top, and Leta pushed back, and then now Flash is pushing at the bottom. It's kind of like king side and queen side play. There's like playing counterplay up at the top, up at one side, and now at the other. And here, and oh my God, Flash has really nice control. He's actually like kind of contained Leta. He's got it right outside the main set of 3 or 4 bases, so it's really hard to get units out there, and that's where all the production facilities for Leta are. So this is a really nice position by Flash because he's kind of cut Leta off from protecting most of his bases. He can still get vultures out by going through the 9 o'clock with vultures, but I don't know if tanks are going to be able to safely get out, and if they're not. If they still can safely get out, Flash just needs to push a little bit further until he can cut off the supply lines for Leta, and at that point Flash will probably be in control of this game. But Leta is definitely hanging in there, and he's got such a huge amount of wraiths, it's actually becoming ridiculous. And he even elected to get 1-1 for his wraiths, so that indicates to me that he might be thinking about a battlecruiser tech switch because he's invested very heavily in air upgrades.
I mean, you can go battlecruiser, or you can just stick to mass rates. Both of them will work. The mid-game of this game, though, like right now, maybe late game, these rates will really start to shine, but right now, it almost feels like following the metagame has almost hurt Leta. If he had gone with mass dropship play and had this mobile tank vulture Goliath force, I could really see him taking down bases and cleaning up some of these lines that Flash has, but right now it's a real struggle for him because these Goliaths are just done a really good job of keeping his own tanks protected for Flash, and we see this once again, Flash trying to break this line as hard as he can, but just not quite able to do this. This game really is hanging on a thin thread. It looks like, oh, both players are on 5 or 6 bases, but it really is that close. At any moment, one big play, some rates going down, one of these fronts for Leta going down, one of these front, if say Flash loses the top front or something like that, anything could change in this game very quickly, and suddenly you could see a player lose 2 or 3 bases, or basically lose the game very quickly. And Flash now pushing at the top of the map, but does not have Goliath support. Where are the Goliaths? There they are. There are 4 Goliaths in support, and the rates maybe could take them, but no, they are 2-2 upgraded rates, but no, he does not want to engage right now, still slowly picking at the tanks, and Flash slowly crawling across the map, and starting to get towards those bases. He is so close at the top left getting to those bases, he is so close at the bottom left of completely dominating that supply line, so this is getting very hairy for Leta. That's a very strong force in the north. I think pretty soon those rates are going to be simply be forced to engage. I think that's getting to that point where Leta simply has to fight, and he can't wait too much longer. As soon as Flash starts to actually get into these bases, I think that's it. Leta's going to have to force a big fight.
Yeah, I think it looks like Leta's switching over to all air, which I didn't really think it worked. Flash adding a bunch of starports as well, but Leta's got 2 upgrades for his air now, and building even more starports at this point. And he really can't. He really has no map control to remain on the ground, and Flash not even sieging up, just pushing straight into the 12 o'clock, and the problem is Leta can't get reinforcements there. The only thing that he can reinforce with is Wraiths, but Wraiths are just so not cost effective versus Goliath that it's really problematic in this game. But he's making a lot of Wraiths because I think that's the only thing that he can actually get out to try to support the rest of his bases outside of his main production area, and that's kind of like a desperation move. I feel like he's being forced into this position, but he doesn't even engage the tanks at the 12 o'clock with his Wraith. He just went up there, saw that there were a Goliaths, and there were really only a couple of Goliaths, so he might have been able to engage, but electing not to. And it's been so long since Leta's put any pressure back on Flash. The initiative is totally in control by Flash, and he's had it for a really long time now. Leta hasn't tried to harass with vultures, hasn't tried to harass with Wraiths in a really long time, and is just Flash is playing very comfortably, and Leta is being poked and prodded and is on the edge at all times. So this is looking really bad for Leta, but Flash, he was playing sloppy at the beginning, but right now his play is crisp and delicious. Wait, what?
I think you were describing the McChicken sandwich there. I think that's how they advertise it, crisp and delicious. But it is very nice right now. Taking that, not only did he destroy the 12 o'clock, he took it. He took it for himself. That's how much he's done right now, and he's in a very solid spot. But the thing that he's got to worry about is those raids. Once if Leta ever finds a gap, if Leta ever really decides to engage somewhere, those raids are growing in number and growing in power so much, and Flash really has a split force, half in the north, half in the south, and if those Wraiths can join with at least a somewhat sizable ground army, you could see him break either force. It's kind of like when Mutalisks join a fight, that they're not expected to be, and suddenly they pop out of nowhere, and suddenly they can completely turn a battle, and those Wraiths are going to do the exact same thing for Leta if he can pick a good spot for it. And you are right, there aren't a ton of Goliaths there in the north, but they are, and they are kind of spread out as where they are. And finally a scan going off, but Leta is going to pick off 4 Goliaths there, and is he going to engage anymore? Not going to engage any farther. There is still some more Goliaths. Is he willing to engage yet? Looks like he's got 2 control groups, and he's going to stop this 12 o'clock from going down. I'm sure Flash will cancel it. There it is. And these Wraiths really could start maybe going for the top right, maybe go for that natural expansion or something like that, where there's just some turrets, and try and do some damage that way. Looks like that's exactly what Leta's going to do, trying to take some initiative back, trying to put some pressure back on Flash, and look at how fast they're just tearing through missile turrets so quickly, and now going straight for the command center, and Flash's response is to get more missile turrets supporting his starports, because he was trying to convert into air. He hasn't done it yet, but the power of mass Wraiths being shown here, and just some turrets to defend, and it's not going to be enough. I think Goliaths are streaming in. I think that's the conga line that we see in the minimap. He's trying to get his Goliaths in, and Leta is going to be forced to retreat here, but that is the power of mass Wraiths right there, is their ability to just swiftly go through and destroy a whole section of the map, and just bypass all the defenses that Flash had prepared. And what is Leta doing here? Engaging on this spot. I think he's trying to take advantage of the fact that Goliaths on the ramp are probably going to have some dumb AI going on here, and actually does pick off a bunch of Goliaths, does lose some of his own Wraiths, but it looks like maybe now he can go for the tank line. So this is actually starting to turn a little bit back into Leta's favor. Now he's picking off tanks and taking control of the ground game. So fantastic play from Leta, trying to work his way back into this game, taking advantage of what he has, and that is a huge air force.
Man, this is an awesome game, I have to say. Wow, like, we say Leta loves his Wraiths, but Leta loves his Wraiths. Would you look at that? And a couple of times we were kind of questioning, is he really making the best decisions with his Wraith? But Leta, hands down, has the best Wraith micro in the world, and he's using his Wraiths really, really effectively. Any other player in his situation would probably be deadsies, but Leta is hanging in this game. Although it does worry me, the 12 o'clock is still unclaimed, but it is 6 bases to 5 bases in favor of Flash, which in terms of mining bases is 3 to 2. And if Leta, or I'm sorry, yeah, if Flash can get up to 12 o'clock, it's going to be 4 to 2 in terms of mining bases, or actually 5 to 2, because Flash still hasn't mined out his 3rd base, but Leta has mined out his. So in terms of income, it is looking really bad for Leta. Hopefully, because he's been maxed for a little while now, hopefully he's got some sort of trust fund to help carry him through for a little bit longer. But I don't think he's going to be able to win this game with Wraiths and a bunch of Goliaths now. Now that there's tons of Goliaths, the Wraiths not nearly as effective, and they're forced to retreat. I think there definitely some sort of switches in order. Now that he revealed that he went mass Wraiths, Flash has just made 1 trillion Goliaths, and really Wraiths can never be cost effective against Goliaths. It's not going to happen, even as much as Leta wants it to.
Watching this game, I just feel like Flash just looks at the current metagame and decides to do a colorful verb of your choice to it constantly. I blame him for the transition away from dropship play, and now we're seeing him with his fantastic Goliath control kind of destroying the Wraith play. Like, he's not dominating this game by any sense of the means, but certainly he's still playing extremely well and countering the new metagame, which is to produce mass Wraiths or battle cruisers with pure Goliaths. It's just like what he did on Katrina to counter Protoss Cares. He went Goliath and used supreme Goliath control to stop it, and now we're seeing the same thing here, where the metagame is go mass Wraiths, and he's using it as his Goliaths as well as he possibly can to take it down. And now here comes Leta with all of his Wraiths trying to eliminate all of the Goliaths. Will this be enough? This could be a determiner of whether or not Leta can actually actually break what's going on, and it looks like he is coming out ahead and going to start picking off tanks left and right, but Flash coming in with reinforcements. Will this be enough? Who's going to come out ahead here? Leta picking off a lot of tanks here, and he's going to have to retreat as the reinforcing Goliaths finally coming into play. It looks like he lost a lot of racer, but a lot of tanks did go down. Is it going to be enough for Leta to get a big push here? He's trying to make a move here, and it looks like he's so close to getting that 12 o'clock position once again. And this game is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. I still can't tell who's going to win. Flash playing very, very well with his Goliaths, very, very nice control, and Leta using these rates to anywhere where the mass of Goliaths is not for Flash, he's trying to hit and trying to get out of there before the mass can respond. It's really interesting watching the rates and the Goliaths kind of dance back and forth throughout the map.
Yeah, I'm so sad because if only Leta had a bigger economy, he could just do a huge switch back into tanks and completely roll over Flash, because Flash now has about two or more Goliaths for every tank he has. And it looks like he no longer has a critical massive race necessary to kill Goliaths quickly, so he's just getting whittled down by just a couple Goliaths and turrets now. And it looks like Leta's trying to switch back into tanks. He has produced a bunch of tanks, but if he had a bigger economy, he could just come in with a maxed army of almost all tanks and just completely roll over Flash. And meanwhile, back at Flash's base a while ago, or just about a minute ago, they showed that he was getting a control tower on some of his starports, and he was actually had a floated building above the control tower, so it looked like he was trying to hide it. So I was wondering if that was going to be a switch to battle cruisers, but it looks like it's not. He's just got a ton of wraiths at this point, and Flash has gotten some wraith upgrades too as well. So he's tired of the improved mobility of Leta's army roaming around and trying to ignore his very carefully established positions. So Flash, now that he has a good comparative economy, feels safe enough to go ahead and get a bunch of wraiths out from tons of starports.
Yeah, and if he can catch up on the wraith count, which he could with his extra two bases now that are mining, it looks like Leta is really trying to get very, very low on his economy, and it is starting to look like Flash is going to destroy the metagame once again. Not going dropships, not going battlecruisers, not going wraiths until endgame, just going Goliaths and destroying the wraith group. And this is incredible, and this is an awful, awful position for Leta to have with his tanks. He's going to get pincered from all sides. I think he's not going to be able to move this group again. That's the problem. That tank group can't move. There's nowhere for it to go. It can't go. I mean, it can go backwards, but that's about it. There's nowhere farther for it to go. Look at those fantastic tank lines that Flash has established, and he is starting to build up quite a sizable wraith force. He's going to try not to reveal it until he can get those upgrades, at least to 3-2, so that way he can at least be on relatively comparable ground with his with Leta's wraiths if he can hold out that long. And once he reveals them with the Goliaths in support, if there is a wraith battle and there's any Goliaths in support, it's going to be really bad for Leta. But Leta, you did call this, very, very nice call. He has transitioned into a whole lot of tanks, so that is going to be a nice counter to the Goliaths. Unfortunately, Flash has already transitioned into wraiths, so that could end up being one of those things where you're just like, poor Leta. You know, he was responding properly, and then suddenly Flash decided to already have the response to the response already laid in the work. So that is going to be definitely a problem for Leta moving forward once Flash reveals his wraiths.
Yeah, I'm thinking a bigger problem for Leta is going to be that it looks like he's almost out of money. I'm taking a careful look at the mini-map right now, and just the colors, like you can see the light blue, of course, is the minerals. And in terms of bases that Flash controls that still have minerals, it looks like there's 3 or maybe even 4. I can't really tell if there's minerals at the 3 o'clock. But yeah, the observers are going to show it now. Leta, I believe, is on one mining base up at the top left. You can see, look at all the bases Flash still has with money. Flash is still getting money, whereas Leta is getting almost no money. So I think where Leta wants to commit all of his forces is to the 12 o'clock. That would, in theory, be the easiest base for him to take. And if he can get it, he can stay in this game. But it looks like now Flash is finally going to reveal his wraith, and there isn't a turret there, so he does have detection. And it looks like Leta still has a superior wraith force. So Flash did this tech switch, but it looks like it wasn't wasn't decisive enough to work out. Leta still with the bigger Wraith Force, so maybe Leta can take out the 12 o'clock, but there are 20 turrets there. Oh my god. This is going to be so fortified position for Flash. And here come the Wraiths. Oh, but the Wraiths of Leta coming in. This is really going to be but wait, did Flash already lose all of his tanks to Leta? Did Leta just take out all of those tanks already?
Yeah, he already busted through that entire tank line, and yeah, you can see the Leta just completely unsieged. He's just going to tear through this entire turret line, not even going to need to use his wraiths. But on the other hand, we do have this Goliath wraith force now moving out for Flash, and could try and take a nice position here outside of the top left quadrant. That looks like where he's going to go, and Flash needs to be careful. Oh, never mind, he's got tanks in there too. I thought it was pure Goliath there for a second, but he brings in some tanks as well. And usually in StarCraft, if, and it's always a big if you have a mixed force, it's usually superior to any sort of solo mono unit force if you can control it all properly. So Flash with the tanks that can at least compete with the opposing tanks, with the Goliaths to support the raids. If all of that works out properly for him, you know, it is an advantage if he can get it to work. It does look like he is using his rates at the 12 o'clock position to at least try and stop this base from going up. Leta really wants that, really wants to get the money out of it. And here comes a big engagement, just tanks underneath. So it's just going to be the rates on rates. Who's going to come out ahead? It's impossible to tell because they're all cloaked. You don't have the shadows like you do in mutas, in muta fights. And it looks like Flash actually might come out ahead. I think he's up a few rates. Looking at this, yes, he is. It looks like he's up about a half dozen rates. And he's got more money, probably more money in the bank. Going to be reproducing more, bringing more rates into battle. Now he's taking down siege tanks left and right, and I think that this battle, this war, this is not a battle. This game was definitely a war, and it is about to come to an end. Leta, GG's, types out of what has been probably one of the best, if not the best, TVT in this MSL so far.
That was an amazingly played TVT. More Wraiths than I've ever seen in a single TVT. Leta microed so well and made a lot of great decisions in that game and hung in for so long, but just he mined himself out faster than Flash did, and unfortunately was just basically completely out of money at that point, losing all of his tanks and being forced to GG. And one closing note before we move on to Game 3. If I was a Guardian, I would not want to be anywhere near that map. That was a death field for Guardians or anything in the air.
Yeah, definitely. And I was just looking back into our little Ventrilo, and Cam and Nate, our friend who is kind of watching the games as we catch them, I think he has a comment about very, very long ago at the very beginning of the game, I think, when Leta had like 6 tanks outside of Flash's base and did not go in to kill off the one tank. And I think that when Leta goes back and watches the replay of this game, he is going to be kicking himself for not ending the game at that stage.
Yeah, he ended up like he could have had the game, and then 40 minutes later, after a long, arduous battle, it went the other way. That's definitely pretty crushing. That would make me pretty sad. I'd cry myself to sleep after that.